verdict in the Hernandez Govan trial. In case you missed it, that verdict came out roughly around 10:45 this morning, and it was not guilty on both counts. Hernandez Govan was accused of being the mastermind in the death of rapper Young Dolph. He is now a free man, free to go after 2 not guilty verdicts.
I never heard of that incident. I heard of it, if you reverse it, I done heard of it that way, the attempted hits on Dolph, but at that point, I hadn't heard anything about someone trying to do anything to Gotti.
Whatever money you get, save that bro, because they gonna need it.
You making on
Hernandez Govan has been free for only a week, and already he's setting the streets and the internet on fire. Instead of laying low, he's been racing into back-to-back interviews, talking reckless, throwing out aggressive language, and taking direct aim at Yo Gotti and his whole CMG camp like he has got nothing left to lose. But here's the problem. The streets don't forget, and people are clocking every contradiction and outrageous slip-up in his stories. At this rate, Govan might not just end up back in prison. The streets themselves could decide to silence him permanently. The internet was the first to break the news of Hernandez's release, and instantly the reactions split the culture down the middle. There was no middle ground here.
That's when he mentioned to me, he was like, man, they ain't trying to do nothing about that. And that's when he mentioned to me, he was like, man, they ain't trying to do nothing about Dolph trying to kill Gotti.
But the real problem is people are already clocking the inconsistencies and wild slip-ups in his stories and the street.
On one side, supporters argued that the man had faced the system, gone through trial, and since the jury found him not guilty, he should be allowed to move on with his life. But the other side? They were furious, yelling, he's guilty as ever. They claimed he walked away from Dolph's murder, a move that felt like a brutal betrayal of Young Dolph's legacy, another rip in the wound, proof that there was no real justice in Memphis. Hernandez tried to play humble, appearing modest, thanking people, and even talking about leaving Memphis behind to start fresh. But that act didn't calm the fury boiling online and in the streets. Because while he was out there preaching peace, his actions told a completely different story. Instead of staying quiet, staying off the radar like most people in his position would, Govan wasted no time jumping online, talking non-stop, and hitting every platform he could. The more he spoke, the worse it looked. What some had written off as street whispers or unfounded rumors started sounding way too real because Hernandez himself was practically validating them with his own words.
I just want to say thank you to my attorneys, Manny, Robert, Haley, Beth, Handel, my private investigators, and Manny still helped me, and he knew I was innocent. Everybody around me knew I was innocent.
What's your relationship with Yo Gotti?
I don't have a relationship with him. I never met him, never did any business with him.
And that's where the danger kicks in. Take Cornelius Smith, for example. During the trial, he confessed. But in court, he was painted as an unstable junkie, a man whose testimony was unreliable, full of rambling nonsense. The jury didn't buy it. But now, with Hernandez out here talking recklessly, he's unintentionally giving weight to the same claims Cornelius made. The very last thing Govan should be doing is backing up the so-called junkie's testimony, and yet that's exactly what it looks like. Then came the wildest move of all. Hernandez went on record claiming he never had any kind of relationship with Yo Gotti, never met him, never did business with him, no connection whatsoever. And that's where everybody called foul. Because no one's buying that story. Not the blogs, not the fans, and definitely not the streets. Why? Because Hernandez himself once admitted that he was tight with Yo Gotti's older brother, Big Jook. They were close for years, grew up in the same neighborhoods, and shared ties that were way too deep to dismiss as irrelevant.
That can't just be brushed off as nothing.
You and Big Jook had a relationship?
Yes, he was an associate of mine, yes sir.
You were how old when you met him?
Met Jook when I was around between 22.
You guys used to gamble together?
Yeah, that's how we met, gamble.
Okay, and you guys are like almost cousins?
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't personally handling business with Yo Gotti, the circles were simply too small for them not to cross paths. And the people aren't letting that slide. Fans are tearing him apart, flooding comment sections, asking the hard questions. How could you be that close to Big Jook and never once deal with Gotti? How is that even possible? The inconsistencies in his story are stacking up, and every new word out of Hernandez's mouth is only digging him deeper into a hole he may not be able to climb out of. Swear you never met Gotti when you were literally moving side by side with his own brother? That's the contradiction people can't stop pointing out. Hernandez tries to paint himself as an outsider to CMG, but then in the same breath, he brags about working for Gotti's own company. He even claimed he was scouting talent, spotting potential, and signing artists, basically shaping the future of CMG with his own hands. How do you go from, "I don't know Gotti," to bragging about building his empire? The contradictions are piling up, and they're ugly. And here's the part that made jaws drop. Hernandez admitted he was even trying to arrange a CMG deal for Straight Drop, the same man who was later implicated in Young Dolph's murder.
2021, a few months prior to the actual shooting, you were actually working with Straight Drop to try to sign him to CMG.
I was.
That detail had people shaking their heads because it sounded like deep involvement, not distance. If anything, it tied him closer to the very circle people have been whispering about for years. Now let's not forget Cornelius Smith's testimony. In court, he flat out said money was Straight Drop's main motivation. According to Cornelius, Big Jook promised Straight Drop a record deal, the golden ticket he thought would lock in his loyalty. And now, Hernandez is basically out here backing that same story without even realizing it. He admitted that when talks of music and deals came up, he was right there in the house with Big Jook and Straight Drop, watching it all unfold. Suddenly, what once sounded like a far-fetched junkie's rambling is starting to sound a little too real. And that's where the dots start connecting. Straight Drop's alleged belief that eliminating Dolph would clear the path for his own success suddenly makes sense. If he thought taking Dolph off the map would solve Jook's biggest problem, he might have believed it would earn him the CMG stamp, his ticket into the industry, one lethal favor in exchange for his future. But instead of opening doors, it slammed them shut. Straight Drop isn't on stage, isn't famous, isn't signed. He's sitting in a cell, staring at a lifetime behind bars. No glory, no deal, just regret. But Hernandez didn't stop there. He pushed things even further, talking about the day Cornelius came by the house. Hernandez claimed Cornelius was just swinging through for his usual narcotics pickup, and he even said he was so locked in on trying to get Straight Drop signed that he told Cornelius to leave.
Real.
Reached out to Jook and asked him to come by and check the material out. And that's how it started.
Okay, so Jook is at your house. Is Straight Drop at your house also?
Correct. And I went to the door and it was Cornelius. And I was under the impression that he just wanted some X pills or whatever like he normally did. So I told him to come back later. And he was like, no, it's important. So I stepped outside and that's when he mentioned to me, he was like, man, they ain't trying to do nothing about Dolph trying to kill Gotti.
That might sound like deflection, but then came the most terrifying bombshell yet. According to Hernandez, Cornelius suddenly turned to him and dropped this chilling line. They aimed at trying to do nothing about Dolph trying to kill Gotti. That statement stopped everyone in their tracks. Hernandez said it startled him, and he admitted he'd never heard anything like that before. But in the same breath, he freely acknowledged that everyone already knew Gotti wanted Dolph out of the way. That wasn't news. What was new, and absolutely shocking, was the idea that Dolph might allegedly wanted to flip the script and go after Gotti first. That claim set the internet on fire. Comment sections blew up, debates got heated, and the entire conversation flipped. But here's the kicker. Fans aren't buying Hernandez's sudden revelations. They're saying Cornelius already understood the true purpose of that meeting. And the fact he could bring it up so casually, right there in front of Big Jook and Straight Drop, speaks volumes. Straight Drop wasn't hanging around for free. He was being pressured into bloody business by the lure of a record deal. The golden ticket dangled in front of him. And if Cornelius could say it in front of Hernandez without hesitation, that meant one thing. Hernandez was already in the loop. He wasn't an outsider. He was part of the larger picture. And that's exactly why people are saying Cornelius wasn't lying about anything. Not about the meeting, not about the deal, not about the conspiracy. He may have lived a grimy life, but his testimony in court is suddenly lining up with Hernandez's own loose words on the outside. Every slip-up Hernandez makes is practically confirming what Cornelius already told the jury. Then came another slip, one that lit up the internet. Hernandez essentially admitted that Yo Gotti had made multiple attempts to get rid of Young Dolph. And the streets don't forget history. Dolph survived more than one hit before they finally got him. The first attempt went down in Charlotte during CIAA weekend in 2017, broad daylight. Dolph ES SUV was ambushed and riddled with over 100 bullets, just blocks from the arena hosting the basketball championship. The aftermath was pure chaos. Shell casings littering the streets, cars ripped apart, the whole block looking like a war zone. But here's where it gets chilling. Word is, Dolph had already bulletproofed his truck before the ambush, almost as if he knew danger from Gotti. Circle was inevitable, and he needed to armor up.
I heard of that incident. I heard of it. If you reverse it, I done heard of it that way, the attempted hits on Dolph, but at that point, I hadn't heard anything about someone trying to do anything to Gotti.
But fans aren't buying Hernandez's act at all.
This what happened. I'm standing up there, I seen him pull off right here.
Yeah, pull off right
here. Bro, a truck came from right here, pulled up, slammed on brake. Ain't like a movie, bro.
That decision saved his life. 3 men were eventually arrested for the shooting. Frederick Black Anus, Gardner, and none other than Black Youngsta. They were charged with heavy offenses ranging from conspiracy to firing into occupied property. The streets exploded with speculation. But when reporters pressed Dolph about it, he didn't flinch. He barely blinked. Instead of ducking and hiding, he brushed it off like it was just another day. And rather than retreat, Dolph doubled down. He sharpened his moves, leveled up his grind, and threw it all back in their faces through music. His response wasn't silence. It was fire. He dropped Play With Yo Bitch, a direct diss aimed at Yo Gotti, and then came back harder with tracks like Bulletproof and 100 Shots, transforming his pain into weapons, turning trauma into ammo. That was Dolph, fearless, unshaken, shining brighter in the face of his enemies. Now here's the catch. Court documents later tied a suspicious rental car to Black Youngsta's name. That was the only official connection, but the charges against him were eventually dropped. There was no proof he was behind the wheel, no proof he was even there when the bullets flew. But the cloud of suspicion never disappeared. Fans in the streets never stopped talking, never stopped questioning. And it wouldn't be long before another attempt on Dolph's life came even closer, terrifyingly close to ending everything once and for all. A few months later, young Dolph found himself targeted yet again, this time right in the middle of Hollywood at the famous Lowe's Hotel.
Enemies.
One thing that I know for sure, and I've been knowing this shit for a long time, you kill your haters with success.
He was shot. Detectives say 3 men approached him right in front of Lowell's Hollywood Hotel today, where all 4 were guests. There was a fight, young Dolph fell to the ground, and that's when one of the 3 suspects opened fire.
Witnesses say a fight broke out in the valet area, and before anyone knew it, Dolph was knocked to the ground as gunfire ripped through the air. Multiple bullets struck him, and the scene turned into pure chaos. He was rushed into emergency surgery and, against the odds, survived. But the message couldn't have been louder. Somebody with real power and resources was determined to see Dolph gone permanently. Based on witness testimony, investigators believed this wasn't random street beef. It was calculated. The LAPD even went as far as naming Yo Gotti himself a person of interest in the case. Things got even crazier when police located a gold Escalade connected to the suspects parked nearby. Inside that investigation, they arrested Corey McClendon, one of Gotti's known close associates. For a moment, it looked like justice might finally come down. But just like before, the charges didn't stick. Nobody was officially charged for that attack, and McClendon walked away free while Dolph was left fighting for his life. But Dolph was built different. Even on the verge of death, he didn't flinch. He didn't move paranoid. In fact, not long after healing up, he was seen walking around by himself, unprotected, right in front of the same people who wanted him gone. He wasn't afraid. He was focused on stacking money, leveling up his empire, and pushing his career even further. And then came the darkest chapter of all, the day Memphis lost one of its strongest voices. Dolph was murdered in broad daylight, in his own hometown, at a place he loved. Makita's Homemade Cookies was a spot he often supported, a neighborhood favorite. But on that tragic afternoon, he pulled up and was ambushed outside the shop by 2 masked gunmen who unleashed a hail of bullets before fleeing in a getaway car. The entire attack was caught on camera, leaving the city in shock and the culture devastated. Now here's the question that has everybody scratching their heads. Why is Hernandez Govan, fresh out of the case, running to every public platform and basically implicating himself, while dragging others into the fire with him. Some think it's just carelessness, that he doesn't have the discipline to keep his mouth shut. But others believe something much deeper is going on. There's a growing theory that Hernandez might be working directly with the federal government. Think about it. The only reason he's walking free could be because the feds don't care about him. To them, he's small fish. Yo Gotti is the bigger prize. According to this belief, Hernandez may have already cut a deal, slipped through the cracks, and is now being allowed to speak recklessly so federal agents can use his words as evidence against Gotti. When you line up the facts, that theory doesn't sound far-fetched at all. Especially since Hernandez has already publicly admitted that Yo Gotti made multiple attempts to get Dolph removed, which perfectly matches Dolph's history of surviving assassination attempts before his murder.
Things happen like you had happened to you. They have epiphanies. They have like life-changing moments. Just want to ask, has your worldview changed at all after what's happened to you?
Not really.
The dots are connecting themselves, and now fans are watching Gotti closer than ever. Since Dolph's death, Gotti has moved carefully, calm, deliberate, avoiding wild antics or flashy distractions. It's like he knows the spotlight is on him. And if that weren't enough, all eyes are also locked on Black Youngsta's bizarre behavior, raising even more suspicion. Enough is enough. And Black Youngsta seemed to finally hit that wall. After deleting CMG from his bio, declaring his independence, and firing off cryptic shots that felt like direct jabs at Yo Gotti, he went viral. In one post, he wrote, "I'm sick of these dudes, and I'm going to lead by example. I blame the fake OGs, the fake big homies, the fake CEOs, the fake teachers, the fake people in your life not telling you right from wrong. But I understand it's hard to listen to BS from a BS person. I was once like you. I'm not afraid to admit it." Then he doubled down. Youngsta followed up with more posts. "I am cool on that fake love and loyalty from people I realize been faking for too long. I'm cool with standing alone. I'm cool with the fact I put trust in the wrong people. No more making it look good. We either cool or we not. Either way, I'm cool. I'm not like your favorite rapper, allegedly. I live what I rap. Whole time dudes just sound good on songs. If I'm lying, God can take my soul in the next 5 minutes, no cap. I cut a lot of people off I thought was real like me. That was a bombshell. Because for years, Black Youngsta was the loudest soldier in the Dolph versus CMG war, the one always front and center. Now suddenly he's pulling away? That shift has everyone speculating. Maybe Youngsta sees the storm forming. Maybe he knows the feds are circling and he is trying to distance himself before the hammer comes down on Gotti and CMG.
Whatever money you get, save that, bro. Because, nigga, they gonna need it.
You make it on this YouTube, you need to put it on your life insurance. People, you know, I look at you as like little kids at high school that used to get beat up and now you got a voice since the internet has been invented.
And the speculation only grew after Youngsta's controversial move following Dolph's death. He filmed a music video for one of his Dolph diss tracks, inside a cemetery. In the footage, he rapped in front of a tombstone bearing Dolph's last name, Thornton. The internet erupted in outrage, shocked that he would disrespect Dolph's family so boldly, so soon after the murder. But Youngsta didn't backtrack. He snapped back on Instagram. "I come from the heart of South Memphis, where you get no sympathy. Don't even know what that is." That response only deepened the theory, that Youngsta knows more than he's saying, and that his sudden distance isn't random at all. It might be survival. But at the core, the main fact remains. The only street beef Dolph ever had that escalated to bullets was with Yo Gotti and CMG. That's why, regardless of Hernandez's wild stories and contradictions, people continue to point the blame in the same direction. And Hernandez has only made it worse for himself. Long before his Vlad TV interviews, he was already flashing his temper. After blogger Say Cheese repeatedly accused him and others of being guilty, Hernandez confronted him directly, and the clash went viral. What started as words quickly turned tense. Hernandez even threatened to ban Say Cheese from Memphis altogether, mocking him like a bully in the schoolyard. But Say Cheese didn't fold, snapping back at him to check your tone. That's when Hernandez delivered the line that made the whole chat freeze. Whatever money you're making on this YouTube, you need to put it on your life insurance. Viewers were stunned. It didn't feel like a joke. It didn't feel like tough talk. It felt like a direct threat. Many said Hernandez's delivery wasn't rambling or hype. It was cold, calculated, a warning. If he's bold enough to threaten a blogger in public, imagine what's happening behind closed doors. And that is why people can shake the feeling that Hernandez is deeply entangled in this mess, no matter how much he tries to spin it. His contradictions, his reckless talk, his anger, they were only fueling the whispers that he is exactly who the streets believe he is. Now here we are, years after Dolph's murder, and the storm between Dolph and Gotti's camp refuses to fade. Instead, it feels like the pressure is building all over again. The next chapter might be even uglier, even more explosive than what we've already seen. So, what do you think? Is Hernandez playing a reckless game that will catch up to him? Or is he intentionally exposing too much? Maybe even working with someone bigger behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's talk about it. And if you're locked in with this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because trust me, this saga is far from over, and when the next chapter drops, you won't want to miss it.